Need tools? We've got you covered. Go to ChromebookParts.com or click on the link below to pick up this sleek, portable toolkit. Flip the unit over and remove 10 6mm screws from the bottom cover. Gently insert the opener pick between the bottom cover and the palmrest and slide along the edges to pop the bottom cover free. Remove the plastic covering. Peel back the tape. And unplug the battery from the motherboard. You should now be able to remove the battery. Remove 3 4mm screws from the hinge and 4 2.5mm screws from the motherboard. Flip open the locking clip and unplug the LCD cable from the motherboard. Unplug the speakers from the motherboard. Lift up to pop the antenna cables free from the Wi-Fi. Flip open the locking clip and unplug the palmrest cable from the motherboard. Flip open the locking clip and unplug the touchpad cable from the motherboard. Flip open the locking clips and unplug the daughterboard cables from the motherboard. Lift up the hinge and gently lift up and pull back, taking care not to bend or damage the motherboard ports. Remove 2 3mm screws from the daughterboard and 3 4.5mm screws from the hinge. Lift up the hinge and lift up the 2 daughterboards, taking care not to bend or damage the ports. Unwind the antenna and speaker cables from the guiding paths. Continue to unwind the speaker cable and remove the speakers. Peel back the tape. Flip open the locking clip and unplug the touchpad cable from the touchpad. Peel back the tape that's covering the screws. and remove 3 2mm screws from the touchpad. Lift the palmrest partway up and pop the touchpad free to remove. Place your fingers on the hinges and gently wiggle the palmrest free from the LCD assembly. Be sure to unwind the antenna cables from the last guiding path. Replace the palmrest by lining up the hinges. Replace the touchpad. And replace the 3 2mm screws. Replace the tape that covers the screws. And plug the touchpad cable back into the touchpad. Wind the antenna cables back onto their path. Replace the first speaker, and wind the cable back onto its path, joining up with the antenna cables. Continue to place both cables into their grooves, and when you get to the end, replace the other speaker. Replace the daughterboard. Close the hinge, and replace the 2 3mm screws into the daughterboard and 3 4.5mm screws into the hinge. Replace the motherboard, and be sure to make sure you get all the cables out from underneath. Close the hinge, and replace the 3 4mm screws into the hinge and 4 2.5mm screws into the motherboard. Plug the LCD cable back into the motherboard. Plug the speakers back into the motherboard. Gently push down with the spudger to plug the antenna cables back into the Wi-Fi. Plug the Palmrest cable back into the motherboard. Plug the touchpad cable back into the motherboard. And finally, plug the daughterboard cables back into the motherboard. Replace the battery, and plug the battery back into the motherboard. Replace the bottom cover and push down to snap it back into place. Replace the 10 6mm screws into the bottom cover.